It's a little cold out there, a little drizzly, a little bit yucky, but we're so glad that you all are here tonight to spend the evening with us. We just find it incredible that we continue to have such a great and strong recovery community gather with us here on a weekly basis. We're so proud to be a part of it. I want to take a minute and welcome those watching live online. We want to welcome the brave women of the Brighton Recovery Center. Can we give it up for our ladies of Brighton? We want to welcome also those men and women watching live from the Droege House. Welcome. Welcome to Freedom Night. And last but not least, those watching live online from the Kenton County Detention Center. Can we give it up for those guys out there? We're so honored that you would be spending your Sunday evening with us. We want you to know that we love you. We are for you. There are people here that are praying for you. Cannot wait to meet you in person. Cannot wait. Well, I just want to say, even though it's drizzly and cold outside, I think fall is still my personal favorite time of the year. Anybody else here like the fall? Is there something about it? I grew up in Florida where there is 2 seasons, hot and hotter. And colors are pretty much green and brown. And so I totally fell in love with the changing seasons and all the beautiful colors that happen in the fall. I love fire pits. I love just a smell and just watching the leaves flutter down. And it's just an amazing time. Something else I really enjoy about the fall as well is the NBA season gets underway. And yes, okay. So when I first moved up here, I couldn't get used to it. It was all college ball. And nobody followed the NBA. And I'm like, but it's the NBA. And it would be finals, and nobody would know what I was talking about because March Madness was done, and they didn't have any comprehension. But I absolutely love the NBA, drive up to see the Pacer games every chance that I get. And one of my favorite all-time NBA moments happened with the Indiana Pacers and Mr. Reggie Miller, who is absolutely a legend in the NBA. And it was game 1 of the 1995 Eastern semifinals, and they were playing the New York Knicks, which on any day of the week, the Pacers playing the Knicks is a good game. And this was a game that had been, 60 fouls were called, so it was just like having an insane game. And Pacers were down 6 points to the Knicks with about 18.7 seconds left. And I turned the game off, thinking it's done. This one's in the books. It's over. And a few minutes later, my phone was ringing. My brother, who's also a big NBA fan, who still lives in Florida, called me. He's like, "Did you see that game? Can you believe that? Da-da-da-da-da." I'm like, "What? We lost." He's like, "Are you kidding me?" And so go ahead, let's roll that video. Let me show you guys what I missed when I turned the game off. Houston and Utah
tied it too early. We'll be going there at the conclusion of this game. A game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for 3, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
Tie game. No need to foul in that situation.
And the foul is called with 13.2 seconds. Reggie Miller made a 3, stole the ball, raced behind the three-point line, and hit again.
What presence of mind, but then to foul there. The Knicks had no timeouts. You basically had to play for overtime if you're the Pacers in that situation. Miller's going to make, after he sets the screen, he steps behind, makes the first jumper. On the inbound pass, Greg Anthony stumbles, and they can't get it to him. The ball gets stolen. Mason not able to call timeout.
Starks misses. Neither team has a timeout remaining.
Pacers have to box out here if they expect to win this game. Last time, similar situation, Anthony with the offensive board. A make is okay for the Pacers.
Starks misses. Batted around. Ewing has it. His shot, no good. Reggie Miller the rebound and a foul with 7.5 seconds.
And Pat Riley is saying, what is going on here? Goes after Ewing just a bit long.
Miller has hit 12 of 13 in the game. For only the second time in 16 games here at the Garden against the New York Knicks, Indiana has reached 100 points. They won the other time. Maybe this will be the magic number for them here as well.
It's like Indiana's win in Game 1 at Orlando last year.
Miller hits two.
No timeouts.
Anthony stumbles and falls. Time runs out. Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in the final 32 seconds. Taunting Spike Lee and 19,000 at Madison Square Garden.
I apologize. I don't think the first part of that was working, but Reggie Miller cracks me up. He's giving it to Spike Lee really bad on the sidelines there, kind of giving him a hard time. But when they cataloged that down, when they looked at it all, he made 8 points in 9 seconds. So he made a 3, stole the ball, made another 3. They missed their foul shots. He came back. So what am I trying to say here? I said that was one of my favorite memories. It's one of my favorite memories because it taught me an important lesson. So I thought it was overdone, no shot, no way, no how. This game's in the books, and I turned off the game and missed one of the most amazing moments in NBA history. And, you know, over the years, I've watched so many people walk out on their own stories, thinking it was game over, giving up, thinking it's done, I'm through, I'm finished, there's no other way the situation can end, and they've walked out not realizing that there was still time left. There were still some things that could happen. And they don't realize when they're walking out on that they're taking away the opportunity to experience something truly amazing. So tonight I want to encourage you not to give up on your story. Don't assume you're at the end or that the last chapter has already been determined. Over the years, I've watched a lot of people walk out not realizing that it was not a final outcome, and they've called it. They've said, this is it, it's done. They've got caught up in their situations of their past, and they focused on that, thought it can't be different. And they've looked at their present and thought, you know, there's nothing that can happen that can change this outcome for me. It looked like it was just going to be more of what had already been. And they walked out not realizing there's still something more, and it had devastating consequences. Listen to me, out of everyone in your life, you are the one person who cannot give up on you. Your family can give up on you. Your friends can give up on you. Your coworkers, your significant others. Everybody in your life can give up on you, but you cannot give up on you. And I want to encourage you tonight not to walk out on your own life. Not to sign off on your story saying, hey, the final chapter's written. I want to encourage you to stick it out and work for something better, because the worst thing that could ever happen would be for you to check out, assume it's over, and miss out on the opportunities God's got lined up for you to live a life of meaning and purpose and success. And it may seem impossible tonight, just like being down 6 points with 18.9 seconds to go seemed impossible. But I want to tell you tonight, as long as there is still time, as long as there is breath in your body, there is still hope. There is still more to your story. And in my own life, I have faced devastating circumstances. And I have sat looking at those and looking at the pieces that just vaguely resembled my life. Anybody ever been there before? You're looking around at the way things are, and that doesn't even look vaguely familiar to me anymore. It's a mess. It's inside out and upside down. And I thought, you know what? There's no way I'm coming back from this. There's no way this can ever be okay again. And I was tempted to give up. But, you know, I stuck with it. I was willing to show up and do the hard work. I learned to look at things differently and to think about things differently. And here, years later, I am so glad I didn't check out. So glad I did not give up. And tonight I want you to think of me as a coach. Everyone in this room, in fact, everyone under the sound of my voice, listening live online as well, has what it takes to make it. How do I know that? You're here. You're still breathing. God put you here on purpose, and you're still alive, so He's still got things for you to do. You know, sometimes we just need to tweak things a little bit. And other times we need a whole new game plan. So just the way that a coach is able to help a player adjust a thing or two here, he'll say, step back this way, twist this way, turn over here. And sometimes he helps a player find a brand new solution to a problem in the game, and they have a whole new strategy. I'm here tonight to help coach you through the quitting times. The quitting times are those times where you feel like it's just no use anymore. There's nothing that can change the outcome for you. The quitting times are times where it would literally be easier to give up, to resign yourself to what has been, will always been, than to keep moving forward. So tonight we're going to work through what it takes to make it through the quitting times. You know, I believe we spend most of our lives in a search for meaning in one form or another. We look back at the things that have already occurred in our lives, and we seek to associate and assign meaning to them. We say, well, this happened because this, and this happened because that. We all do it. We all explain things. We try to have things make sense. We try to have meaning. We all search for a meaningful life. We do. We want our work here, our efforts here, our minutes here to count. We want them to be meaningful. We seek assurances that our presence here carries some sort of purpose with it and a meaning beyond the extraordinary, beyond the ordinary. We want our lives here to make a difference. I've yet to meet a person who did not want at some level, in some shape or form, to be considered a hero. Someone who had unique abilities, someone who was able to do things other people couldn't do. On some level, every person I've ever met has wanted to be a hero in some way, shape, or form. A hero to their kids, a hero to their spouse, a hero possibly even to their community. But everybody I've ever come across has sought to be someone of note, someone of value, someone who could make a real difference. But you know, we're often under the mistaken impression that to live the life of a hero means we have to live a perfect life. We have to always have it all together. And if we live a hero's life, then we don't have hardship or struggle. We don't have pain. Things just kind of flow magically for us. We don't understand that it's actually our responses and our choices to hardship and struggle that define us and make us a hero. A lot of us look at the obstacles in our way, circumstances that we're facing, and we say, that thing needs to change and then I'd be okay. If that situation over here were to be gone or be different, then I'd actually get to be the person I want to be. We look at those obstacles and we take that perspective that it's those things out there that need to change and need to be fixed, and I'll be good. And we look at heroes and we get discouraged and we say, well, they've just got everything lined up. They've got this, they've got that. They had the right connections. They had better connections. They came from a better family than I did. They've got a better job. They've had better opportunities. But the truth is that what every single hero has in common, everyone without fail, has faced adversity, has faced hardship, has faced struggle. They aren't living some sort of magical life. Those people we look up to, those people that we actually want to be like, those people we admire, have all faced things that we too are facing or will face at some time in our future. So when you're going through hardship and when you're going through adversity, when you're going through struggles and when you're experiencing pain, you can literally say to yourself, I'm a hero in the making. I'm in good company. Every person who's ever made it has had something to overcome. If you're going to make it through the quitting times, the first thing you've got to realize is that you are not alone in struggling. We all face hardship. We all face disappointment. We all have setbacks. Some of them we cause for ourselves, and some of them life just hands to us. We've also got to come to terms with the fact that if we are to be more than who we are now and be capable of more than we are now, we're going to have to stretch beyond what we've already done. We're going to have to get out of our comfort zone. We're going to have to try new things. We're going to have to risk. We're going to have to make ourselves vulnerable. We're going to have to go after something different than we've done before. And here's where it gets a little tricky. So some of you guys are with me so far. You're like, yep, got it. Everybody faces struggle. Heroes face hardship. Okay, yep. If I want something different, I got to do different things. Gotcha. But honestly, what happens is that we believe that when we do that and we stretch out of our comfort zone and we live brave and we go for it and we stretch really far, we believe that life is going to reward us with instant success and that things are just going to fall into place and everything's going to roll out like Disney World. Because we did what we were supposed to do, right? And when that does not happen, we get angry, upset, confused, discouraged. And sometimes we give up before we even really get going. Guess what? The reward of stretching ourselves is not success, it's learning. It's learning. We will often continue to fall and falter as we figure it out. We must keep at it. Thoughts of failure, discouragement, all those things, when we stretch ourselves and it doesn't quite work, that comes with the territory. What we get from those experiences of going out of our comfort zone and being brave and living brave, what we get from those experiences are information, education, learning. So our failures can be recycled later on as success, but in the meantime, we have to keep at it. We have to keep practicing. And consistent practice leads to positive outcomes. How many times do you suppose that Mr. Reggie Miller had practiced a three-point shot before he made it that night during that game? And how many do you suppose over his career had he missed? He didn't walk on the court and throw up a three-point shot for the first time in his life. He practiced, and he listened to people that could help him change things and adjust things to do better. He practiced. Nobody that has any sort of a mastery skill would ever tell you that you're going to do it first time out of the gate. You don't sit down to a piano and think, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be brave, and I don't care what people think, and I'm just going to, and you're not going to be Mozart. I hate to break it to you. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to practice. And we know that logically, but somehow when it's tied to our emotions and things that really matter to us, we forget. We're going to have to practice some things, and we're going to have to look foolish sometimes, and we're going to have to pick ourselves back up and keep going and try it again. So before you elevate to a new level, you're going to have to learn to make the most from the level that you're at and practice going above and beyond your current abilities. With practice comes strength and comes mastery. And don't get discouraged at going at the same problem again and again and again and feeling like, you know what, I don't really know that I'm making any headway. Who here works out, goes to the gym, lifts weights? All right. So you don't go to the gym and go, oh, man, I got to lift these same weights again. I don't get it. Why can't I just stay like this? I don't understand. No. We know, as a matter of fact, what we know is that as we master one level, right, as that becomes easy, because we've learned and our muscles have learned, we have muscle memory, as we get better in better shape, we actually have to elevate and add weight too, do we not, to keep getting results? So why would we think it's going to be any different when we're facing weights in a different way in our life? We're going to have to keep practicing, keep lifting. We're going to have to keep at it. The third thing you're going to have to realize if you're going to make it through the quitting times is you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that if you are focused on the external situations and try to change them, you are doomed to fail. If your strategy for being who it is God created you to be, if your strategy for living a better life, if your strategy for living a hero's life is to change external situations, you're doomed to fail. A hero is not a hero for the obstacles he is able to remove. A hero is a hero because of the obstacles he learns to leverage to his advantage and to overcome. That mountain may very well stay right where it is. Guess what? God can give you the grace and strength to climb that mountain and from the top get a view you could not get any other way. And sometimes those miracles happen and that thing does disappear. But more often than not, it stays right where it is, and you've got to learn how to navigate it. You've got to learn how to climb that mountain. You've got to learn new skills. You've got to go at things differently. It's not the response to the obstacle. It's not the power to remove an obstacle that makes you a hero. It's learning how to respond to an obstacle that makes the obstacle an asset to you. The fourth thing that you need to learn to make it through the quitting time is how to take control of your emotions when you're taking a hit, when things aren't going so well. Heroes feel fear. Heroes feel helpless. Heroes feel hopeless. Heroes want to give up. Heroes deal with nagging insecurity and anxiety, but they have learned how to sift through those emotions and how to come to peace with them. So when you take a hit, don't let emotions take the wheel. Sit with the feelings, the overwhelm. Sit with them. Label them. Say, I am feeling afraid right now. I'm having a thought that I might not have what it takes to make it through this. Acknowledge those things are there. Remind yourself that plenty of people have felt those same exact things and have gone on to make it. And do not judge yourself for feeling fear or for feeling discouraged or for feeling anxious. How crazy is it that we sometimes feel bad and then feel bad about feeling bad? And we get caught in this cycle and we wonder why we don't get anywhere. Face those feelings, sit with them, label them, acknowledge them, but don't judge yourself for having them. As a matter of fact, most of us are so much better at taking care of other people when they're going through a difficult time that it's actually helpful to ask yourself, what would I say to a friend who was going through the same situation? That can actually help you. What would I say to my best friend if they were to call or text me right now with the same situation? What kind of things would I be saying to them? And then say that to yourself. So you sit with the feelings, you label them, you acknowledge their presence, and then we move on to the second part of learning to control emotion or not letting it control us. So the second part of that is ask yourself, after having labeled those negative things that you're feeling, ask yourself, is there any other emotion or feeling at all that I could pull from within myself right now? Anything else? For example, what if this time next year, I've actually beat this thing? What if this time next year I've actually accomplished this goal and I figured it out? What would that feel like? Close your eyes. Allow yourself to imagine what that would feel like to have beat that thing you're up against. Or think of a time where you felt at peace. Think of a time where you felt confident. Ask yourself, what other times have I been successful? And what did that feel like? And hit the pause button. And be with those same emotions and same feelings for a while. You see, that negative emotion is a trigger that all of us experience, and most of us respond with a, yep, I'm going to fail. I'm doomed. I'm done. I can't do this. But we can set a different response, learn to slow it down, label and acknowledge the feelings, and then choose to trigger positive emotions and positive feelings. It's up to us. It's within our control. We can do this, and this way, we leverage something that's difficult. We leverage a situation we're feeling poorly. We leverage obstacles and setbacks, and we take control and manage it. And very often you will find that as you process a little bit further from that and you begin to pull up other more positive feelings, what you were worried about is just diminishes just a little bit. The strength of that just kind of does, like taking the volume and turning it down. I'm not saying you won't still be worried about things, that you won't still think, well, I just really don't know if I'm saying you'll see there's other things that are possible too. There are other reactions that are possible as well. Number 5, and this is going to sound crazy, but we have to learn to see pain as a gift and take it upon ourselves to be a good steward of that pain? Doesn't that sound crazy? But let's review. We're all going to face it, right? We're all going to have pain, right? We all are. If we learn to see pain as a gift, and we learn to be a good steward of that pain, what that basically says is, no matter what life looks like for me right now, it's my life. God gave me these minutes. Therefore, I believe there is value in these moments, as bad as they hurt. And we learn to look for those things that could actually be a help to us and assist to us. For one thing, for example, when we're experiencing extreme pain, it is often in those very moments that we work out of and live out of a very authentic place. All of a sudden, our priorities get really clear, and what matters is all of a sudden just comes sharply into focus. And I remember a few years back going through some stuff. I mean some stuff. And it was difficult. And I remember all of a sudden being late to an appointment, running out of milk, all the stuff that used to drive me nuts, really not so much a problem anymore. Much bigger things on my plate. Hey, I learned I wasn't my credit rating. Shock. I wasn't the car I drove. I wasn't the neighborhood I lived in. I existed far outside of those things. And those are some of the gifts, some of the things that pain can help us arise, some of those places we can get to when we're living from that very real and authentic place. We begin to appreciate things a little more as well. So be a good steward of your pain. When facing adversity, when you're taking a hit, it's absolutely critical you learn to own your choices. Own the things you allow to guide your paths and your thoughts. We talked about the fact that we're going to have negative feelings and emotions, and we can choose other things. We can ask, is that thought really helpful? Is that really going to help me get anywhere? It may be true that I'm feeling that right now, but is it helpful? So I'm going to focus on something different. Somewhere along the line, someone might have told you a story about who you are. Maybe they told you you're worthless. Maybe they told you there's no hope for you. Maybe they told you you were an accident and they wish you were never born. Do not let the brokenness of other people author your story. You get to write your story. You. The pain of their response can be a gift because you can see it as something you can rise above. It's an opportunity for you to elevate above what other people think of you. And anyone who has ever made it in life has had to learn that lesson at some point in time, that we are simply not what other people think we are. Not even when they're giving us the greatest of praise. Let alone when they're tearing us apart. We exist in someone else's opinions, and that's their opinion. They're welcome to it. It doesn't have to be any of your business what they think of you. You are the final say on your story. There's something that I do when I'm facing hardship. I pretend like I'm going to write a book about my life. And I go, hey, I'm going to get at least another chapter out of this one. We have to learn to look at it this way. We have to learn to see ourselves as overcoming it. We have to learn to see it as another chapter in our story that we get to have some say in. We can't control what comes our way, but we can always control our response to it. Pain also represents a chance to do something I call dial a friend. Anybody ever watch that game show? What was that a while back? You had all these choices. You can dial a friend, right? So sometimes pain is an opportunity to expand, to find healthy connections, to grow our resources. Sometimes we're put in situations so that we will learn to reach out. So we will get it through our thick heads. We really cannot make it on our own, and we're never intended to. Going it alone doesn't mean you're strong. I say this all the time. It means you're stupid. It really does. No one was meant to make it alone. And so sometimes our pain can be, if we can acknowledge that as a gift that helps us get out of our stuck ways and out of our unhealthy relationships, it forces us to go outside of those relationships and seek out healthy people who will have our back. That can be a great thing. that means we are now leveraging that pain, leveraging those obstacles. We're learning to take what it in the beginning seems like a negative, and we're learning to make it something positive in our lives. In fact, some of my best and closest and dearest friends came out of some of the most horrible situations in my life. I learned who had my back. I learned who I could trust, who I could count on. And I learned that I could be that for other people as well. And this may counterintuitive, but the 8th thing that you need to learn to make it through the quitting times, don't shoot me, it's gratitude. And I don't mean being thankful for the horrible stuff. This isn't Pollyanna. I'm not asking you to be thankful for things that hurt, things beyond your control. I am asking you to intentionally take your focus and put it on other things. There was a time not so long ago when my family and I were going through a very difficult time, and I realized these were very large storms that were not going to clear up overnight. My kids were young. And I remember thinking, you know what, if I don't intentionally focus on the good things in our life, no matter how small it is, we're going to go under. We cannot sustain this long term. We have got to shift our focus. I'm not talking about denying. We all know people, no, it's good, it's all good, it's good, it's good. And you're like, no, your life's right. No, it's good. I'm not talking about denying that things are difficult. I'm not talking about denying pain. I'm not talking in any way, shape, or form about denying or blocking out things that really need to be addressed. I'm talking about acknowledging that there are also other things present in our lives at that moment, at that time, that are a blessing, that are good, that are right. The Bible talks about this. It talks about intentionally focusing on those things that are beautiful and just and right. So what my family and I did, I gathered the kids together. I bought this great big giant bulletin board. It was so huge. Got it at a thrift store, put it up on our kitchen wall, so right when you come in from the garage, you see it. And I told the kids, I said, this is our gratitude board. Anything and everything you are thankful for goes up on that board. Anything. I found half gallons of milk for 25 cents one night at Kroger. That receipt went right up on that board. 25 cents. Come on, somebody. Half gallon, 25 cents. They put invitations to birthday parties up there. We put tickets for dollar movies we'd gone to. Anything and everything that they were thankful, from the smallest one to the oldest one. And every time we came in the house, we had this visual representation of the good things in our life, that God was there, that were still wonderful things present with us. It didn't mean we didn't have some stuff to get through. It meant there were also really wonderful things present with us. And I would pack up that board when it would get full, and I would put it in a shoebox. And do you know, over the course of a year and a half, we filled up 7.5 shoeboxes with stuff off that bulletin board that otherwise just would have hit the trash. And every time we walked in the house, we acknowledged the wonderful things that were in our life. And if you have a hard time finding something to be thankful for, ask yourself, what is the thing or the person or the experience or the circumstance that I have right now that if it were gone, my life would be significantly more difficult? That can sometimes help us get to some things real quick. What are the things in our lives right now that we're taking for granted, that if they were gone, we'd be moaning and groaning and complaining to somebody, hey, when's the last time you called somebody and said, hey, my roof's not leaking? Because if it were, well, that'd be a thing. And we'd be telling people. It'd be on Facebook. So we have to learn to acknowledge those things that are working well for us to help us get through the quitting times. Number 9, practice the expectation of a good outcome. And that can be really tough. If things have gone poorly for you for a long time, this can be really, really hard. So we have to understand success is not a one-stop shop, right? We've already said we got to practice, we got to practice, we got to practice, we got to get back up, we got to readjust, we got to learn, we got to take what works and leave what doesn't. It's going to be a process. But in the meantime, while we're doing all that, what is it that you're going for? Have a really clear picture of that. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Give it full HD color, 3D. Put your glasses on if you need to. Figure out what that would look like. Know what it is you're going for. Have a crystal clear image of that. So when you're falling down and learning how to get back up and you're limping along and you're reaching out for the healthy connections and you're thinking about the things that you're grateful for, when you're putting all those things into place, you have in mind exactly what it is that you are going for. Write it down if you have to. Tell a trusted friend. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm getting up in the morning. This is why these 20 failures are not going to stop me. This is what I'm after. I have a dream to get my doctorate. I'm 1 year done, 2 more to go. I can tell you right now what outfit I'll be wearing the day I graduate. I got it down to that detail. That is going to happen. That is going to be a thing. We have to have that sense of where it is that we're going to help pull us through the times we want to quit. And if you're having trouble keying into that, sit with someone that you admire who's accomplished something and talk to them about what that felt like to have that moment and draw from that. This is your life. This is your story. One shot at it. One take. Make it count. You are here on purpose for a purpose, and the only thing that can squash that is you. You must not give up on you. This is your life, and whatever it looks like right now, it is still your life. And it is your choice to live it boldly and bravely. Being a hero does not mean you are not afraid. It does not mean you do not encounter horrible events or have major setbacks. It doesn't mean you don't experience hardship or things that are unfair. Being a hero means that you realize that every single moment that passes is an opportunity to choose how you will respond to the things life brings you. Some of you here tonight have allowed other people to tell you have no value. You have no purpose. You have no meaning. You're not supposed to be here, and you will never make it. I got a quick story to tell you about the naysayers and how we handle those. The Bible tells us in Romans that every story, everything that's written in the Bible is there for us to learn. It's there to help us grow. It's there to help our faith. So in the Old Testament, there's a story of some men that were sent out to scout out a city that the army of God wanted to take over of this city. They thought it had great resources. There's a big giant wall around it. Long story short, 12 people go out. 10 come back, say, no way. No way, way too strong, impenetrable, not worth it. Nope, we're all going to die if we go do that. All going to die, no way we can do it. 2 guys come back, go, yeah, no, it's awesome. There's amazing things here. We can totally do this. So they believe it's possible. So they go talk to the leader, and the leader says, okay, I'm going to pray about it, see what God says to do. God comes back and says, here's what I want you to do. You're right, that is your city. That is to be yours. That city that's got that huge fortress around it that keeps everybody out, that's to be yours. Let me tell you what you're going to do. You and your entire army are going to march around that city 1 time a day for 6 days. And on the 7th day, you're going to march around 7 times. And then you're going to blow your trumpets, and you're screaming, you're going to yell, and the walls are going to fall down. Now, I'm no archaeologist nor engineer, but I'm fairly certain the people marching around silently, and even them marching 7 times, is probably not going to do a whole lot of anything. But there's a lesson in here, and you knew there was. Be honest. When facing insurmountable obstacles, we must first be willing to believe that it's possible to overcome them. Joshua and Caleb came back and said, we can do this. Don't know how, but we can do it. We're sure of it, and it's totally worth it. Number 2, the Israelites had to be willing to do something no one else would do. They had to be willing to do things no one else would do, and they had to be willing to do them repeatedly. 1 time was not enough. 2 times was not enough. 3 times was not enough. They had to be willing to do them repeatedly with no outward sign it was working. I don't know about you, but on day 3 and everybody in the city's laughing and making fun of us, I'm out, guys. You all carry on. Have a fun little party. I'm going to go over here. You guys look ridiculous, by the way. I'm out. If I was ever in to begin with. Day 3, come on. Day 4, they're still doing it. And the Bible literally says the people inside the city are just giving them. It's like Reggie Miller and Spike Lee. He's taunting them all the way. And they kept at it. They had to endure ridicule. They had to ignore what other people thought. They had to ignore what other people would say would work. They had to go a different route than most. This was not a warfare tactic. This was not an assault. This was not some new weapon they had. This was not some new military strategy. But God had spoken to them and told them, this is the way you're going to win it. This is how you're going to do it. Your presence on this earth is not an accident. God designed you and created you with great and loving intention because he could not bear for there to be a version of this world without you in it. Nobody else's opinion can change that. We live in a massive universe so vast, scientists tell us it would take 450 million years to travel just halfway across our galaxy. And yet there are particles so small that scientists right now are struggling to figure out how to even measure them. Particles smaller than atoms. I read recently that a teaspoonful of a neutron star would weigh 6 billion tons. Wrap your mind around that. God's created this amazing, awesome universe. A teaspoonful of a neutron star would weigh 6 billion tons. We have forces such as gravity which keep us from literally flying off the surface of the earth. Our planet is set at just the right degrees to prevent us from burning up or freezing, and it keeps a regular cycle that has yet to fail of night and day and seasons. 8.7 million species of animals in the world. Scientists say it would take 1,000 years to catalog all of them. 1,000 years just to list all the species of animals that we know of on the earth. Smallest mammal on earth is a shrew, fits on the end of a human finger and weighs less than 2 grams. The largest mammal on earth is a blue whale, which is about 98 feet or about a football field in length, 200 tons. 200 tons is how much it weighs. And then there is you. Not by accident, not by happenstance. You are not the one thing that God messed up. He is perfect in all that he does, perfect in creating you and in breathing life and breath into you. And those moments that he gave to you because you are the one who can best live them. Don't let the opinions of others convince you you don't have what it takes to live the dream he put in you. If you'll stick with it, you'll see the walls that have kept you out of your dream come crumbling down. Perhaps you're here tonight or watching online, and you know that you are in one of the quitting times of life. You know you're in a place where you feel like giving up. You know it will be easier to just say, I'm done. I can't change things. I've tried. I've fallen so many times. I've given everything I've got. I can't make this anything other than what it is. You know, I've faced situations and circumstances like that more times than I'd like to count. And personally, I could not have done it without a relationship with God, an actual, real relationship, not an experience with religion, not a membership in a church, a relationship with a personal God who loves me as I am, accepts me as I am, looks out for me, protects me, has constant compassion and mercy and grace for me. I believe most of us are not looking for proof of God's existence. We are wanting to experience his presence. One of my very favorite verses helps me get through quitting time. 2 Corinthians 4:16 says, so we're not giving up. How could we? Even though on the outside it often looks like things are falling apart on us, on the inside where God is making new life, not a day goes by without his unfolding grace. On the inside, God is creating new life, even when outwardly it looks like everything's falling apart. And we have the daily promise of his unfolding grace.